Hello and welcome to this first look exploring session of Heteroclitanomalonomia. I've been practicing that all week. Don't ask me to say it again. Yes, so it's a short play. We're doing it in one session. It's a bit tight to do in one session, but it's a bit too short to do in two. It is a university play of some description, either Oxford or Cambridge. We're not 100% certain. And yes, it is going to be playing around with all sorts of abnormalities or things as hinted at in the title, but we don't have a precise parsing of what the title is doing yet. I think a little bit more context of the text will give us a bit more on that. We will have a latecomer joining us a little later on, but for the moment, reading the Priscian and Fero is
Lois Potter, academic living in London.
Reading the chorus Fumus and Vox is.
Hi, I'm Eric. I am all these things.
Reading Participle and Vis is.
Oh, it's me. Aliki Chapple, actor and translator currently in Athens.
Reading Oratio and Volo is.
Hi, I'm Lynn Freitas. I am a college composition teacher coming to you from the Northwestern United States.
Reading Verbum and Aliquis is.
Alan, with no Latin and less Greek.
Reading Nomen, Absurdo and Karoulla is.
Sarah Blake, actor, writer and director based in Germany.
And we should have later on joining us to read some Dice will be Elizabeth Amisu, hopefully later on. But reading, filling in for those parts and some others, reading Ignorance and Robinson is.
I'm Alex Scott Fairley. I'm an actor in Highland, Perthshire in Scotland.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I will be reading stage directions and generally keeping us moving forward. So we're going to do an act at a time and then we'll stop for this session. So we start with a prologue. A chorus saunters in, a parenthesis indeed.
We purpose to set upon our stage a battle which was fought before our age. Nor jest nor earnest is our whole intent, but as you'll take it, so we'll say 'twas meant. The grammar king, both greedy of command, each in the chiefest place of speech would stand, till Lillie sets between them both a bar, and wholly pleads for peace. Thus ends the jar. Our chiefest aims at that which follows after, among the maimed, which may move some laughter. We do it to rub up our grammar ends a trifle, and I hope it will please our friends.
Act 1, Scene 1. After an alarm or some other signs of battle, enter Priscian with a broken head, which he had taken in the wars between Nomen and Verbum.
Ah, cease, cease, you warlike instruments of battle. Lie still, ye weapons of grammarians' metal. Nomen, good Verbum, if you be a Christian, leave arms. Abuse not poor oppressed Priscian. Laugh not, my masters, for this is no dalliance. The noun and verb are fallen out at variance. Ay, then my fellows, being somewhat bolder, bear away this and somewhat on my shoulder. Not only I, but many more, God wot, in these dread wars defects and wounds have got. In very sooth, 'twould grieve your stony hearts to see how hot each army play their parts. First, both the kings do gather up their numbers, and each their captains from their cowards sunders. The articles, as Hic, Haec, Hoc, and others, begin the battle, sparing not their brothers. To them 3 parsons of King Verbum's side, as Ego, Tu, and Ille, soon replied. Then the declensions in their several ranks, with conjugations, gins to play their pranks. The gerunds and the supines, they stand by to drown with trums and fifes the maimed's cry. Verbs which have lost their limbs, quam plurima dantur, et quae deficient genere adjectanda notandur. Here lies a perfect tense, a Verbum's troop, and on the other side, if you would stoop, you might take up 100,000 cases. There standeth Fero, making crabbed faces for his lost perfect tense. Another lies lame of his legs. Caecus wants his eyes. Volo crowds valiantly into the press, but straight, alas, returns imperative-less. Decay, with speeches thinking to prevail, comes back, poor Dick, cut shorter by the tail. So vis the noun, although he thought no harm, yet in this skirmish lost his giving arm. Fumus he smoked for it, what with shot and thunder, he never since could find his plural number. The guns so bounced in Quidam's ears and face, he's thick of hearing in his calling case. What more? Some verbs grew hoarse, that with their noise some lost their active, some their passive voice. In these hot wars, where neither verb nor noun saw their own fellows groveling on the ground, the adjectives with their substantives did buffet, and I, with parting them, was soundly cuffed.
And alarum.
See here the sign. But hark, gerunds in dumb do sound their trumpets, supines beat their drum. Fie upon these wars and foul ambition, each against other, both against poor Priscian. This is no time, no place for me to stay. The nouns and verbs draw near. I must away.
And indeed, exit Act 1, Scene 2, enter Oratio, held by Nomen on one arm and by Verbum on the other, and after them, Lillie.
Oratio is mine, my hands the first did light on her. Nomen, thou wert not best to cast one sight on her.
Peace, Verbum, peace. Thou nothing art but word. Renowned noun shall get her with his sword.
Hold both your hands. Oratio speaks in tears. Your civil broils her cheeks with blood besmears. For be you sure that such a death of words as this your battle every hour affords must needs hurt me. The world was never better than when we did enjoy our servant Cater, whom ye have slain with many of his order, all which are dead. But what's this but open murder? If you go forward as you have begun, all grammar land will quickly be undone. I feel that barbarism nigh approaches, when our best subjects all do halt on crutches. Sorry. Some lose their legs, their arms, yea, bodies, and some withal do lose their lives. Think you this handsome? Decree a peace. Of you this only seek I. Restat enim regredri quam malacepta sequi.
I'll pawn my credit, if thou wilt believe me. I'll do whate'er I may for to relieve thee. But I'll not lose my precious prize, that's flat. What's mine is mine, and I will have but that.
What's thine proud noun, base, lousy, beggar's peasant? I would I could but once espy thee seize on it.
Leave off these lousy beggars if you love me. The very name of peasant much doth move me.
Since she is his and yours, but wholly neither, 'tis best you both should for a respite leave her, or both possess her, but in quiet manner. You do not well thus for to hang upon her. Please you to lend your ears, you straight shall see some articles to which both shall agree.
Sentence say I not, that I fear to combat with that same Verbum, whom, if I can come at, I'll teach him how to meddle with my wenches. He hath enough to do with moods and tenses.
And I agree, for this my mistress love, not yours. Another time these words shall prove.
Why, now you deal like kings to end this toil. Be pleased, therefore, to sit a while. Oratio in the middle, like a mother, Nomen on one side, Verbum on the other.
Speak then, grave Lillie, as a wise man should do. Where be these compositions? Say, what would ye?
For the due joining of words in construction, it is to be understanded that in Latin speech there be three concords, the first between the nominative case and the verb, the second between the substantive and the adjective, the third between the antecedent and the relative.
Why, this is true, but now we ask thee, how may we make these enemies agree?
The two last concords do agree already, although the noun and verb be somewhat heady. About thee, Queen Oratio, as it seems, wherefore in this my judgment fittest deems, that if ye do consider Nomen's case, why, then the verb shall take the chiefest place. But if ye do respect the persons, then I take the nouns to be the better men. Thus both shall reign, but at their several seasons, in an oration for the aforesaid reasons. How likes Oratio this device for peace?
Full well, good Lillie. Do they Nomen, please?
They do, and doubtless he were very cross that would not let wise Lillie's sentence pass. How please they Verbum?
All as well as may be. I ne'er saw better articles than they be. Be you but pleased in public, we'll reveal them, and with our hand and privy signet seal them.
We all consent. Lillie, lead on the way. We mean to ask the next school leave to play.
Which being done, dread queen, I will return to comfort those which in the wars do mourn, and send back trusty Participle's army, which he, ere long, will have provided for me.
And they all exit, enter chorus.
Will be as neat as you know who before us. So I'll tell you, sirs, our play shall have a chorus, and I'm he. I speak it with an emphasis. My hoops expound my name. It is parenthesis. The epilogue and prologue, they do stand like these same semicircles in my hand, which thus encloses with their semi-moon our needless sports, which may well be undone. But to my part, the kings, as you have seen it, are friends. The compositions are in print. But now the nouns and verbs are fallen in. Anomalies and heteroclites begin. Sit here a while, and you shall see some sport, which they shall make, then laugh and thank us for it. Yet stay a little, let me not forget you. One thing I have, for which I must entreat you. Pray let them twang their instruments a little. I am tired, for I play participle.
And they exit. So we've got all this irregular conjugations going on here because there's a war going on. Don't you know there's a war going on? Grammars of, you don't want to get into a grammar war because you know what? Nobody wins. Nobody wins the grammar war. Everybody loses. It's just there's blood everywhere. So just the only bit of context I'll give here is that Lillie, who appears here, is William Lillie, who wrote a short introduction to grammar, and which is literally quoted at one point. He literally quotes from his own book. I don't think the personification here is literally the man. I suspect he's been dead for a while, but I don't know. But anyway, it's basically they're bringing the school book on as a prop, presumably as personification in this play. I'm really enjoying it. I'm suspecting there were a lot of jokes that are just going shump over my head because of my really poor education. But I can appreciate what the play is doing, and I do think it's doing it with quite a light touch so far. But do feel free to disagree. Lois, then Eric.
Yeah, I enjoy all these double rhymes. I've always liked feminine rhymes. Apart from that, I think there might be some quite interesting costuming. I mean, parenthesis definitely says his hoops show that he's parenthesis, so he must be standing there, I would imagine, holding something like a bow in each hand with that shape so that they kind of enclose him like a parenthesis. Or maybe you can think of something more clever than that. But if he's doing that, then presumably the other characters ought to have something designating what they are too, which could be quite fun to devise.
What does a noun look like?
Yeah.
And surely a verb will be fun. Anyway, no, I'm not even going to try and do these kind of jokes. Eric, the play will do them for me.
Yeah, I was going to say, because it's interesting how you get a clue as to what chorus is wearing. You've got like the semi-moon, basically semicircles that he's holding, which I'm guessing were kind of protractors or something. I don't know. Maybe. But There's a part of me going sort of, if chorus was doubled with participle, then that just means that who's coming on like next basically means like, yeah, and now we have a commercial break between the acts, which is kind of fun. Yeah, I don't know. It's just I'm guessing. Well, some of these jokes are just bad.
Yeah, but there's enough of them that it doesn't matter. I think this is an important thing. Quantity is more important than quality. I mean, it's like a film like Airplane. I mean, some of the jokes are really terrible, but there's enough of them that they hit you in the face every few seconds. So it doesn't really matter. And there is a good appeal for let's not have war. Let's have peace. Let's not have all this fighting. Wouldn't that be a good thing? And there's a little bit of that in there, so that's some stuff. There's Lynn.
Yeah, Alan said the other day he thought I would like this, and yeah. I'm a grammar nerd, and so the whole the punning between grammatical agreement and the more sort of general sense of agreement and concord and discord in grammar being compared to war and like all the grammar puns, and yeah, I'm like super amused.
Yeah. No,
someone said early modern schoolhouse rock. Yeah. I don't know. That's a US thing, but yeah. Yeah. Makes me smile.
Yes. Sorry, I was just looking up something. Going forward. It's okay. I'll get to that when we get to the stage directions. I typed the wrong thing in the chat. I'll say it out loud. Right. Any other thoughts before we go into Act 2? Okay, let's dive further in. Act 2, Scene 1. Enter Participle Solus, or Participum, actually. Solus with 2 letters.
The grammar fallen at odds. This news is sad. I fear with participle it will go bad.
Reads one of the letters.
To his right trusty subject, Don Pedro, participo inhabiting in accedensque aliae, beyond great Possum, near to the abode of Signor Eo and Queo. I know thou art not ignorant, honourable participle, with what insolence and haughtiness of mind Poeta, king of the nouns, hath made an insurrection, and how rashly he presumes against the law of verbs to usurp the supremacy in an oration, insomuch that we are compelled to take up arms, though very unwilling, against him to beat down his pride and save our own honour. Wherefore, being you know full well how much you are beholden to us, as for your tense and signification, you should perform an action befitting your fidelity, if you would preserve the common opinion we have always had of you from the beginning, by adjoining your bands and yourself to ours, not only for the preservation of us, but also for your own safety, of which you should have cause to despair should our empire be once overthrown. Farewell, and hasten thy coming as thou art able. Amo verbum. Stand to it, stout nouns. Much honour may you merit to get Oratio and proud Verbum ferret. Fight on, stout Verbum. No less mayest thou win to get Oratio and beat Nomen in. Strike on both parties, here's none will forbid it. Brave be mine honour. This is grammar's credit. I'm for you both, but yet indeed for neither. Though I love you, believe me, I had rather pleasure myself than both. Then, verb and nomen, learn this of me, 'tis best for you to know men before you trust them. 'Tis a common proverb. Dost thou think that I'll neglect my profit? No, verb. They write to me to join my band to theirs, and each of them the loss of kingdom fears. I'm glad of that. When two extremes do strive, then is the middle very like to thrive. And yet, because they shall not know my meanings, a few I'll send them of my coarser gleanings. The verbs perhaps a few neutro passives, lest they mistrust me. Oh, they're perilous sly knaves. The nouns, some toys which end in tor and tricks. For such slight things no politician sticks. I have enough to serve my turn, and more. Why, I can number 100 score as those in ans, tus, sus, sus, rus, and dus. My soldiers do in number pass the sand-dust. And more than that, proud Nomen do but thwart you us, will raise the spirit of our long dead more to us. Well, I will be king, at least, beshrew me, but neither now nor verb can keep it from me.
Act 2, Scene 2. Enter Verbum, Volo, Fero, and Dis.
Since war's be done, let every of our nation betake him to his proper habitation.
You're still on.
How now? King Verbum, huh? What? Fled? Now well away. How goes the wars? Hath Nomen bear the bell away?
Why, they be done. I scarce had sealed my letter when Lillie joined us friends.
Better and better. Thus, while I myself of all so sure, I'm gulled of all. Who can such fates endure? But are the wars break up? I'm glad, believe me, for both your sakes. That only doth relieve me. Had it not been for you, the participle, void of all help, had still remained a cripple. If you had chanced to lose your domination, where should I had tense or signification? Had noun untimely fell in that dissension, what should I have done for gender? Haste? Declension? If both had died, my damage had been bigger. Where should I had my number or my figure? All which considered, sure he were not worthy such kindness who would not be careful for thee.
I know you're careful, and I thank you for it. Although your kindness at this time came short, I must impute it to my too late sending, and not in any wise to your offending. But I am glad you did a while withhold yours, for I had a very few more soldiers. All Nomen's troops had been of life bereft. There had not then one adjective been left.
Methinks that you are reasonably tamed. As far as I see, many of yours are maimed.
'Tis true, 'twas our hard fortune and our fate that thus massacred them. But say, relate, how every wound to each of you befell, and by what mischief?
Faith, I cannot tell. But as I'm Dick, I in the wars could never thrive, for there I lost the tail of my imperative. I, as my use was, when I see one come, turning my back, a noun struck off my bum.
And I, poor Volo, being somewhat willful, was, though I say it myself, not quite unskilful, and yet my jacket, some noun, had a pull at, my passive voice was struck off with a bullet.
But silly Fero bore the brunt of all. There did my perfect tense untimely fall. But yet I hope your lordship's war munition will for our labors give us restitution. Oh, to be perfect is a happiness, and to be tensed is to me no less. Then that I may be perfected and tensed, let me, I pray, with your rewards be fenced.
But to go tailless is a worse disgrace. For shame I dare not look you in the face. Oh, that same rascal called Aliquis, could not he bang me, but mistake my E? Wherefore, my lord, my elbow daily itches, hoping you will restore my long-lost breeches.
My damages, dread king, you knew before. Deny not then my losses to restore.
Now, my friends, recompenses suit you. I hope that you have done. But what's your duty? Yet in rewarding wounds I would not lagger, but in that these wars have made me quite a beggar. Wherefore be answered, nay, the matter scan not, for I am forced indeed to say I cannot. Seek for awards? Now all my moods defend me. I'm almost mad. Good participle, tend me.
And exuent verbum and participum, and we go into what is labelled Act 2, Scene 4, because there doesn't seem to be an Act 2, Scene 3. This may or may not continue, or there may be some issue here. But we just think the scribe wrote the wrong number.
Is this a recompense for all our wars? Is this a salve fit for so dangerous scars? I'll tell you, sirs, although I make no grudging, well may you think I take the same in dudgeon. That stirred my choler much, and can you blame me? Why, loss of tail, it cannot choose but shame me.
Indeed, that's much. But my commanding mood, his tail, head, body, all, are drenched in blood. How may I storm for this same loss of mine, which in the wars did all command resign? But Verbum, I will make thee know, thou base thief, I will not bear these wrongs. I have no passive.
Oh, I'm active, passive, both together. Yet, to say truth, I'm perfect am in neither. I want that tense. Yet, simple though I am, I'll go to Verbum. Once again, I'll try him. If he will make me restitution for it, if he deny it, I must needs go borrow it.
Fie, fie, no, Fero, 'tis a shame to borrow. I'll make him give the one before tomorrow. Be ruled by me, we'll trounce that thankless Verbum. I'll tell you, sirs, I'll make this same a dear bum. He'd better break his neck from off a steeple than used as thus. 'Tis that same participle, which like a hang-on or a flattering parasite gets all from us. He'll still be sure to tarry by it.
He's tarried by it so long that now the whoreson hath got into his fingers every parson. My mood imperative, it wants the first, for which to ask verb yet I never durst, because I knew he'd given him so many, that now for me to spare he had not any. Well, well, I knew the time when 'twas a fashion that every noun of whatsoever nation should be the third. Now they are not afeard to be the first, the second, nor the third. Nay, more, this was confirmed by proclamation, cried in the marketplace by evocation.
This must be looked to. Fellows, let's be wise. If Volo might be heard, I'd you advise to take up arms against our careless king. We'll make him know that beetles have a sting.
Fight with our king? Is that a thing so little? I'll tell thee, Volo, that I am no beetle, nor will I take up arms against our king, so I myself may to worse mischief bring. As I am Fero, I have borne some losses, and ere I'll do it will bear far greater crosses. Besides, whereas King Verbum did deny me, perhaps he did it only for to try me. Had I my perfect tense, then thou shouldst see, my noble Volo, I would be for thee.
But give me leave, good Fero, I beseech thee. In this case I am able for to teach thee. Think'st thou to get thy tense again? Oh, wizard, take this from me, to get from Verbum, 'tis hard. Were it in my case, thou shouldst not go ask a tense. We'd quickly ferret Verbum from the accidents. Were it in my case, quoth I, why I am worse. I have more reason Verbum for to curse. But here's an anvil, which if I can hammer, I'll quickly set on fire Will Lillie's grammar.
I am resolved. If fortune do but favour us, poor proud Verbum ere long shall leave to triumph over us. Let us turn outlaws, and whoe'er we meet, we'll rifle them, be it in open street.
Why, then I see I must bear what betide me. I'll follow them. Ill fortune fall beside me.
And they exit Act 2, Scene, well, it's 4, but it's labelled as 5. Enter Absurdo, laughing.
Faith on Absurdo, what a noble lad. Thy wares will utter, be they ne'er so bad. But shall I say what here I have to sell? Let me put down my pack, and then I'll tell. It was not long since I did understand of the great difference in grammar lands between the noun and verb, upon which muttering I did presume my wares would want no uttering. I laded them as an ass, with all such words as this whole grammar land nowhere affords, with worn-out phrases and old conjugations. Now, some new young startups, following still new fashions, would need see all my wares, each for them seek. Nay more, they fain would learn Absurdo's tricks and speak his speech, but mark what followed after. Pray understand me, for 'tis worth the laughter. An old, grey-bearded, bound-head father came. I think they called him Priscian? Yea, the same. You may not speak, quoth he, such barbarous phrases. A word ill-spoken oft great tumults raises. No sooner spake he, but a moody squire amongst the company set all on fire with these his speeches. Him such a clap as made the blood come trickling down his cap. Absurd, absurd, cried he. Now others followed, crying and pelting him. I whooped and hallooed. My ass he kicked, my wares were all untied. Fresh company came. Absurd, the old man cried. You hurt me, you shall answer it ere be long, sir. I hurt ye not, quoth I, you do me wrong, sir. But then, thought I, 'tis best for me to leave them. So took this pack, and, lest I should deceive them that were my customers, there I left my ass. Glad that I 'scaped so, and thus did pass. As for the beast, my customers may ride him. So for my scattered wares, let them divide 'em. This only I reserved, which, if I cry it, I know that many hereabout will buy it. Who wants a number, case, or gender of any noun, I can it render. Whoever lacks a main verb's mood, come unto me, I'll make it good. Come along, ye lads. See what you lack, and ease Absurdo of his pack. Stay, Absurd, here customers are none. All civil are, thy arbourers are gone. Sure, I miss my way. I may not tarry here. I must to ignorance. I am his carrier. But soft, who are those fellows that are lurking? Each of them bears some writing on his jerkin.
Act 2, Scene 6. Enter to Absurdo, Volo, Fero, and Dis.
Say, fellows, haven't we got us pretty prizes?
Yea, let's take heed, lest that the country rises, for we have made shrewd uproars.
'Tis best, till we be perfect, few shall take their rest. Poor Tullo, he lies breathless, void of senses. But I am glad I got his perfectnesses. Thus have we somewhat. Dick, yea, you may be glad, but honest Dick amongst you fareth bad. I am a curtail still.
Soft, who comes hither?
A foe or friend to outlaws, choose you whether. My name's Absurdo, famous through most nations for bringing up strange orders and new fashions.
Wherefore camest thou to this place?
Don't you see? Only because the place came not to me.
Welcome in faith, good Don, but prithee tell us, what business hast?
I see your merry fellows. Your letters term ye outlaws. You are well met. I tell you what, poor Priscian wants a helmet. What between you and me and such as we be, all outlaws, all unruly, ne'er will he be without the red worm crawling down his pate. So I with other youngsters used him late, and hither fled I.
Oh, but here's no tarrying. All here are friends to Priscian, nothing varying from his good orders. Some there are that care not what they do speak or do, seek them and fear not. as country lobs and clowns that have no knowledge, rude pedagogues and newcomes of the college. They're thy best chapmen. We must hence away.
Tell me, before you go, where did you lay dead Tulo's furniture? I should use his moods.
Those you shall find here in Error's woods. What we have left of his, Absurdo, take it. We did provide ourselves of what we lacked.
Thanks, good anomalies. I must go seek them. Tulo Tulabam, who can choose but like them? Farewell unto you all.
Like to you?
Well, well, my masters, here's a deal ado for moods and tenses and other such trifles. But I, poor Dick, must go away with knifles. But now what to be done? You have your tools.
Let's go about to all the country schools, set them agag to break the head of Priscians. They have no knowledge of your new additions. So to it, stout brothers, since we are anomalies, no rule shall govern us. I'll say we'll have no laws.
Very good counsel. Since we are anomalies, I say we'll go at random. We'll have no laws.
And they exit, leaving us with the chorus.
Now I presume again, parenthesis. Come for to tell you what is meant by this, which in the second act as you saw before, in lively manner acted, and no more. First, then, the verbs would have their losses restored, having repulsed they threaten. Fire and sword, these verbs they be perilous foes, for in a spleen they kill and slay, the like was never seen. Fero meets Tulo, void of all defense, knock him down dead, and steals his perfect tense. No less doth Volo to some verb or other, and takes a viz and val, but their brother, poor Dick, I mean, gets naught at all among them, thus strive they to avenge him that doth wrong them. But as they go, they meet with Don Absurd. They tell him of their prize, who at a word goes back and finds the furniture by chance, and sells them to his chapman ignorance. But I think that the nouns do play like rakes within. Sit here and see, now do the game begin. Yet for a while let music make you merry, to ease our actors, which must be almost weary.
And exit. So we do have strong act divisions here. The chorus is, bracketing the action, and we have some music, so we can infer lots of things about how it was staged. So yeah, this is what happens with war. You see, people get injured, and they turn themselves into irregulars, which is basically what we're getting here. We got these injured verbs, and they've turned themselves into irregular verbs. And oh no, grammar, the laws of grammar, they're all falling apart in this war. You can't have verbs without nouns. Why didn't you listen to the Queen? And there's some great. I am trying to figure out precisely how you can have your bum shot off, and what that looks like. I'm sure it's possible, but what does the figure? How I'm curious about that as an injury. I mean, it's a wonderful line of dialogue, and I'm sure it's happened to people. But what's the aesthetic? I'm curious how you costume that. So yeah, and losing your perfect tense. I mean, down the back of the sofa, presumably. I'll go to Lois, then Alex.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had better Latin grammar. I think this would be a hoot to do at a conference of Latinists. But I would guess that, I mean, some of these verbs, I think, when they're imperatives, do lose the vowel at the end of the at the end of the word, and that might be what he's talking about. I mean, that the bottom or the end is cut off.
But as this is all very literal,
yes.
what it looks like. Alex.
Yes, it was a rather trivial sidebar about having your bum removed on stage. There is a character, the old lady in Candide, the musical, who only has one half of her bum because the other half went to feed starving janissaries in some Russian war, I think. So it has a theatrical precedent.
Eric.
I was going to say they've done that in Forrest Gump, but that's irrelevant. I just like that the chorus has come to summarize everything, like in case you fell asleep or something. I don't know what the point of the chorus is at this point, aside from "Hey, music," that kind of, I don't know.
There is almost, it does feel like this actually serves a fundamental educational purpose, that it's supposed to supplement in a fun way what you learnt in school. And it does have that sort of, I put in the chat, it feels, I'd love to see Legs Akimbo stage this. This is that kind of making learning fun. But it is fun. I mean, that's where that analogy falls apart. This is actually rather enjoyable. But it would be more enjoyable if actually we had a 2-hour lecture first, just to really take us through the Latin that we should, and just rules of grammar that we don't necessarily have as a matter of course. In the way that the original audience would have done. Lynn?
Yeah, we don't actually teach grammar in U.S. public schools anymore, unfortunately, because I tell my students, like this sentence has no verb, and they're like, they don't really know what a verb is. But I'm old, and I had grammatical training, which was kind of old-fashioned at the time. So, I pick up on some of this. I mean, I really appreciate the sort of multiple punning plays that the writer has done with like perfect and tense. We have a couple of meanings of tense, verb tense, and the atmosphere is tense, and perfect actually has like at least 3 meanings that are operative here, because you have perfect in the grammatical sense. There's a perfect tense, or there's actually probably a present perfect and past perfect. And to be perfect in the theater means to know your lines verbatim. And then, of course, the ordinary sense of flawless. So, this sort of multiple meanings of words that have a grammatical sense and an ordinary sense. I'm sure I'm catching about 10% of it, but it's very, very clever. So I'm kind of.
Yeah, I mean, even if we're missing things, it is light enough and it is dancing and silly enough that
and the rhymes,
you
like,
can enjoy it. The rhymes are really, really silly. That makes up for a lot.
Yeah.
Welcome, Elizabeth. You remain Dick. Alex was reading your Dick in for you, and so that you will retain that, Alex. You will return to ignorance and Robinson, and we will go on because we do need to crack on through a fair amount of text today. So we're going to dive into Act 3, Scene 1. Enter this Fumus and Aliquis.
Nomen for peace entreats, from war dehorts, threatening dread punishment, us consorts, if that we treat but with our looks of fight. So direful is it in his kingly sight. Then I, the captain of his warlike trains, hoping that he would poise his dangerous maims with kind rewards, unto the court repaired, thinking full little how I should have fared where I began. Great king, your humble vassal, maimed viz, is come to your heroic castle to seek relief. I was, my liege, the leader of your most royal host, the right succeeder unto grand opus, whom without remorse dread wars bereft of life, and did enforce him to resign his place up to my hands, that I might be the leader of your bands, and that I have it faithfully performed. See this my fatal wound, though wholly armed, my dative case is wanting, which restore, and I shall be sound as I was before. To which he answers, General, whose name doth tell thy nature, and whose glorious fame thy worth doth parallel, thy deep dead wound doth pass our weak abilities to make sound, and so departs.
Why, this was friendly spoken, a sign of amity and friendship's token.
Hyena-like, he weeps at our distress, for further mischief seeking no redress.
More lion-like he fiercely on me gazed, soon dashed my hopes and made me all amazed. For when I did begin, my liege, poor Fumus, a lack-limbed soldier too bold to presume, thus tenders up to your majesty his ditty, that on his dangerous wounds you would have pity. For though through patience Fumus doth endure all, yet once he totally his number plural. Affect you plurals, quoth the king. affection bring forth effects of small or no election. Wherefore, vile varlet, cease of thy petition, thinking no more of any restitution.
We both for divers dishes had one sauce. But when I put up to his grace my cause, he asked me who he was, whom vilest peasants should dare to interrupt with their base presence, fond complaints. For know, although I love thee, non vacet ex regis rebus ad ex Jovi. Besides, quoth he, the case you call vocandi is very often causa exclamandi. Wherefore, as in our articles we declared, from those that have it lost, it shall be barred. Others keep the same, but with far greater skill. So we dismiss you. Aliquis away. And so dismissed, I did no longer stay.
His good success makes him to tyrannize. We'll serve tooth outward, and ironies will say, all hail to royal princely Nomen, though we wish a hailer were his omen.
We'll plot some means to get him from his throne, though with his dearest life and our deep moan. But pray be silent. Hark, I hear a coming, sure by the travelling. Somebody's coming.
Act 3, Scene 2, enter Volo, Fero, Dick to them. And I'm assuming that's the same speaker continues talking.
Right.
Yes.
Stand on your guards, what be you, friends or foes? If friends, we thus salute, if not with blows. We intercept you.
In peace, friends, foes in war, when as great Verbum and the noun did jar.
If you be friends, then friendly give us notice. Say, need you our help, gentlemen?
Yes, so 'tis. We three, Dis, Volo, Fero, men-at-arms, soldiers to Verbum, sharers in his harms, though not half sharers in his good success, as doth our doleful misery now profess, which thing provoked us forth from him to fly, to seek our fortune and prosperity.
What sayest thou, Fumus? Here's meat for our mowing. Here's corns ripened for us of others' sowing. Brave soldiers, we do much commend your valour, and would not have you think that under colour of flattering friendship, though ye be but strangers, that we pretend your damages or dangers. We were sometimes of note, though now through fate the only obstacles of wise men's state. We are cast down into misfortune's prison, a dungeon full of misery and derision.
Fortune's fools furtherest has put us together in her blind scroll, as 'twere birds of one feather, to whom an equal destiny is allotted. But if you follow me that I have plotted, in spite of fortune's teeth shall make us known. We'll go to all the schoolmasters in town, and there demand our long defected parts, which if they cannot answer by their arts, we'll so turmoil them that the realm shall know that we will live in fame.
We do allow thy rare inventions. Here's one, Aliquis, talk to some purpose. What sayest you to this?
Why, we will leave our former proposition, and only give consent to his petition.
What say ye, gallants? Do you give consent?
We do.
We do.
You do.
Then let's be gone, for day be spent.
And they all exit. Act 3, Scene 3, enter Absurdo, the peddler of Barbaria.
Thus while I sing along my ditty, each commends it to be pretty. My wares for current still do pass, absurd in more request ne'er was. Come, buy my trinkets, great and small, for a little money, take them all. But now, Absurdo, cease thy pleasant tune, for surely we are just come to the town. Here I must seek a man of worthy fame. I fear too many of you know his name. It's Master Ignorance. His properties I have ad unguem. Oh, he's very nice. He's complimental, neat as any oyster.
Enter Master Ignorance.
Absurdo, bug words. Here's a royster. Stand close and listen.
Pro deum atque hominum fidem. It's a cruel trouble not to teach as idem. I think in conscience all the country teachers do want my method. Pish, they all are peaches. Nihil est si ad me comparator. Each one compared to me is but a prater. I ask my boys how they decline cruesa. They'll straight away say it is declined like musa. Then I'll go further, posing them in tibur. They'll forthwith answer 'tis declined like liber. Had they but little more capacity, I'd quickly send them to the university.
This is the man. His talk doth him bewray. Well, I'll to him. 'Tis he that is my prey. Master Ignorance, for so I think's your name. Please you to buy verbs, tenses, on a sea of fame, combo and tulo, and fine you coined words, which you shall have as cheap as price affords.
Whence comest thou, fellow? From Italia?
No, sir, not I, nor yet from Gallia, but from Barbaria.
Oh, set down thy wares. Then thou hast no Italianate affairs, with which my kindred evermore were troubled. Tell me the troth, thine own price shall be doubled. I do not love this strange Italianating. It is a fancy past my imitating. Here, honest fellow, pray, give me thy trinkets. Here's coin sufficient to buy thy junkets.
Thank you, good master. Fool, and in that grain, when they are scanty, you may go for twain.
Farewell, good fellow. Like a rare physician, I'll of these simples make a composition. Now possum, volo, and the irregular train I'll bring to fashion using little pain. The outlaw's questions I will soon resolve, though Sphinx, there's reading, do the same involve. But I forget, my boys have me expected. I'll straight to them, they must not be neglected.
And they exit, leaving us with the chorus.
Peace, my masters. This will grow to treason. And if it be not looked into in season, did you not see? The traitors had agreed with strife to make our grammar kingdom bleed. They swear, they threaten. Scarcely had they spoken when enters Master Ignorance, a token of their disturbance, whom with their defect they have sore troubled. We must not neglect the punishment of these outrageous fiends. Sit then while you that be good rules, friends. And then, parenthesis, like self-commerce, or I must look into my other part.
And exit, end of Act 3. So yeah, this is what happens when you go to war and all the verbs and the nouns go irregular. So yeah, we've got irregular nouns and verbs as well. They're all out there. Ignorance pops in and into the gaps created by all of this. You see, you can see what the play's doing here, can't you? Can you see what it's doing? But we also have Absurdo, who we didn't talk about last time. This peddler who's turning up doing peddler shtick. It got a song actually that wasn't properly marked in your script as well earlier. So he's doing the peddling patter in there. Any brief thoughts from the room before we dive into Act 4? It's always helpful. I'm really with the fact that the chorus turns up and it explains what's going on every so often, because I sometimes do feel I'm not following it, and then I find out I am, and I go, oh, that makes me feel clever. Eric.
I just like the sort of Absurdo basically turns up going. He's like those I don't know. What do you call them? Like weed dealers on the street where you're like, yeah. So you want to buy a watch, mate? Or sort of, kind of, it's that kind of vibe of like, you want to buy a verb? I've got verbs for days. I've got nouns too. It's just like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's sort of, profiteering off the war, but he's not exactly Mother Courage, is he? Might be one of the children who's stepped away. Any other thoughts? It continues to bounce along, though in a sense Act 3 is very much doing the same as Act 2, really. It's just sort of a slight expansion on, but it's just making sure that with the verbs and the nouns have now both got bandit parties on their sides, and as I say, introduces us to ignorance. Was there any waving? Did I see waving? Did I see someone wave? No, I didn't. Okay, we'll go to Act 4 then. Let's see whether the plot develops a little bit more. Act 4, Scene 1. Enter Oratio, Verbum, Nomen, Participum, Lillie, and Priscian. Or Priscian, rather.
Now I begin to feel my former riches, when concords be observed in all our speeches, when that the noun and verb admit no jar, in number or in person. Oh, this war hath made our kingdom suffer many crosses, and to my sorrow each hath borne some losses. For when each private subject was so bold to catch into his fingers what he could, I know some nouns, which now I will not mention, who have snatched up a double-fold declension. I could name Domus, but I'll say no more. As they be thus enriched, some be made poor. Aptots I know there be above 100, which from the fight indeclinable blundered, besides some diptotes, which the wars did undo, and now vix quatuor cassus tenure secundo. Some triptotes, they returned with only 3. I think these losses were enough for thee. Besides some pronouns, which do make a shift to live in credit, yet they want their 5th. No less is your loss, Verbum, out alack. How I do pity these dus fair and fac. With Volo, Fero, and that maimed crew, would not this grieve one, Verbum? How say you? Long have you fought and fierce, but gained nothing, only some thumps and blows. Is it not so, King?
He fought, dread Queen, too long, I do confess. I had some danger, Nomen had no less. All which redounds to thee, had thou hadst the smart. But talk no more of that. Let's take up heart. Remember that not, though blood our battle cost. Let's say what's won is won, what's lost is lost. If we recount and number them so much, it will but grieve us that our harms are such.
Oh, stay, we must consider them a little. We should not do amiss to build a scuttle for our maimed soldiers somewhere in the city, to see so many daily halt. 'Tis pity.
It is indeed, and my men they complain, wishing that each of them had been outright slain, rather than all their life long to lie bed-rid.
Well, fit indeed their chase should be considered, but they presume so much upon their merit, as if from our hands they straight would tear it, craving rewards, forsooth, for all their wounds. Thus still our palace with their clamours sounds. Fur would have fear, but I'll Ferus make, to serve his term, some wrong he needs must take, and dapper Dick his dice proudly claims. In general, for rewards tend all their aims, which I'll cut off. I'll make them for to feel that Verbum can be angry if he will.
You're dealt with your men as I by mine. One comes and cries, my dative case resign. Another says his plural number's wanting. Another yopes his vocative lies panting. Amongst King Verbum's camps all drenched in blood. Oh, it would do you good to hear what music all their yawlings makes. Some nouns their genders, some their numbers lacks, but all shall fare alike. I do not care. I'll give no more than what I well can spare.
Oh, be not tyrants, good my lords, be quiet. Believe me, you shall get no honour by it. You should change colours like chameleons, fancy all fancies, fearing lest rebellions should chance for to invade your peaceful kingdom. Oh, this is not the ready way to bring down your giddy subjects' unadvised outrages. Be ruled by me, Requite them with stout wages, and first speak peace, seek so to quell their charms. If they deny it, why, then take up arms.
No more of that, good king. Take not that counsel. If wars continue, I shall be knocked down still. I could endure a pulp, but now and then flung at my coxcomb by unskilful men. But when each fellow bangs me with his wasters, some break my head, at least put by my plaisters. How can I live, I prithee, dost thou know?
As if that thou die with a little blow. Besides anomalies and heteroclites, may fight yet never hurt thy head or wits. Nay, speak forth Latin, thou committest no sin, and if thou doest it per antiptosin, thou by that figure mayest put case for case, then do you ill, my judgment thus to cross.
Good sirs, be friends. From words grows blows at length. Pray, let us lose no more of grammar's strength. I know that these late wars enough have tried you, then live in friendship and in peace as I do. But why talk I? I know your disposition. Thou, Lillie, canst not disagree with Priscian, whom loves Oratio, loves him as his life. For they be in a manner man and wife. Let peace and concord be among us.
Stay there, good Participle. I am foes with neither. I ne'er was out with him, nor yet fell from her, as well appeareth in my Latin grammar.
I know thou didst not, yea, thou wert to mean to bring to concord all our troubled realm.
Act 4, Scene 2, there is a noise from within, crying, and it's Fox who's entering.
Pursue the rascals. So, ho, Volo, knock down the traitors. Fero, Dick, and Volo.
How now, what means this uproar in our court?
See, I'm up to my knees in dirt to come to tell your majesty the news. Outlaws there be that to your realm abuse. I have scant breath to speak the thing at large, which was erstwhile committed to my charge.
What outlaws, quoth he? Here will be some knocks. Say, what's thy name?
Oh, sir, my name is Vox.
What is thine office? Come a little nigher.
Yeah, I'm mine officer. I'm her grace's crier.
Oh, I remember him. Vox, do not fear, but let thy sound come to our princely ear. Say, what's the matter? Outlaws thou didst mention. What do these outlaws? Do they breed dissension?
Alas, dread sovereign, our country swarms with verbs, defectives which be up in arms, and caseless heteroclites which every day abuse your subjects in the king's highway. Some aptodes, triptodes, monoptodes, and others are those with those verbs anomalies sworn brothers, and have conspired to get whate'er they need, or they will make your country subjects bleed. They chanced to fall upon one ignorant, whom they put into so strange a trance that he is almost mad. One keeps a stir for his imperatives, then enters fur, and swears he will have Fairley, and protests he'll ferret all your subjects from their nests if they will not restore it. Volo cries, "Where's my imperative? If you be wise, find it your best. So it is my worship's pleasure. Poor ignorance he scarce hath any leisure to teach his pupils. More there be some nouns which do each day an honor an hour follow this fellow trouns. I hope for these same traitors reformation. You call them all to their examination."
Doubtless we will, for sure we must not suborn. We must not suborn such rascal villains, which be grown so stubborn. Nomen and Verbum, we do think fit that you do send some herald with a writ to fetch these rebels in. Ill should we fare, if of our subjects we should take no care.
Madam, we will.
So stand it with our mind.
Let then the person straightway be assigned.
Speak thou, grave Lillie, noun and verb beseeches, which is the finest parts of all speeches, to be our messenger to these rude people.
My judgment maketh choice of participle. My reason is, that he seems somewhat lusty. Besides, I take him to be very trusty. And for because he takes parts of you both, I think his lordship would be very loath. For to seem partial in this enterprise, either for noun or verb in any wise.
Thy choice is good, but say, how likest thou of it? Don Participle, 'twill be for thy profit.
I swear by all my persons, genders, cases, the participle willingly embraces the office which you have committed unto him, and will perform it, if it should undo him. This arm, which for your goods is always ready, shall take those traitors, which are grown so heady. I'll be as true in this same deeds performing, as steel itself. I care not for their storming.
Why, that was spoke like Hector, that stout Phrygian. But hear me, thou shalt carry with thee Priscian. You may consult with him, he may do good, and bring the traitors in, and shed no blood.
Spare me, my lords, for I can give no counsel. First will I run my head against the crown swell, ere I'll go to wars again. You know, with parting, I burst my head so, have not yet left smarting.
Then I and Vox alone will travel. Come on, we'll to your palace all these traitors summon.
Exeunt Participle and Vox.
Thus shall we bring our realm to peace at last, when all these same defectives be laid fast.
Act 4, Scene 3. Robinson knocks at door.
Priscian, who knocks? See that none enters here, whoe'er they be, unless they be our kin.
I know not what he is. What shall be done?
Goes to the door and asks who's there, then returns.
He says his name is Robinson.
Let him draw near. Oh, you are welcome, sir. What have you late heard of this wicked stir?
What mean you, amongst the maimed verbs and nouns?
The very same. They troubled all our towns and villages about our grammar land. No place is free whereof we have command.
I heard of it, and you are she I sought for. You are the very queen that I took thought for. For in good sooth, when first I heard this rumour, I was afeard that this would trouble you more than the late discord. Wherefore, being ready ever, ready to help you with my best endeavour, I thought for to present to you my service. But now I see my hay comes after harvest. Here's help enough, your number is complete.
Nay, good sir, stay, for you shall take your seat.
Sit here, pray be not coy, for will ye nill ye, your place shall be next unto Master Lillie.
We thank your highness.
Come, leave off these thanks. Let us now study to suppress these pranks. First, when our messenger hath brought them in, Lillie shall be with the anomalies begin. Them he shall bring into some rule and order, which when done we cause that the recorder shall come and read the Heteroclitanomalonomia citation, of all which you shall have the domination. What say you, kings, which govern this dominion?
I think it fit.
And so is mine opinion.
No less do I.
Why then our counsel, lead on, my friends, unto our palace, thus our counsel ends.
And they exit, leaving us with the chorus.
Why, here's a to-do to... Here's a... Yeah, okay. Why, here's a do to end this scurvy quarrel. I scarce have time enough to change my apparel between each part. I hope this will be mended. But you see, the kings have promised that they will end it, for while these outlaws makes a show of bravery, Vox certifies the council of their knavery. Both kings have chose their man to bring it and rule those outlaws and to make them fit for school. Lillie and Robinson, they whet their wits to curb the anomalies and heteroclites. It only remains the sentence for their dooms, which till which be done, be pleased to keep your rooms. But soft parenthesis, thou art expected. The participle must not be neglected. Besides, the epilogue doth now draw on, which is my charge, and must be thought upon.
Yes. He must go away and think up what to say at the epilogue. Always nice that he's thinking ahead. I'm impressed. So yes, we've got some sort of return to order planned. We've got some pulling together of threads, and various people in Grammarland doing grammary things, more grammary things going on in Grammarland. Who'd have thought it? Who'd have thought it? I'm not quite sure that we got quite as many jokes in there. It felt like there was quite a lot of plot going on. Just sort of tying the plot back together again, and sort of like, are we here for the plot really? It's just an excuse for lots of jokes, and I feel that there was a bit too much plot. Grace's Cry, there's always potential for something good to come out of that. That's always the standard cry jokes might be available. So there might be some confusion as to who is speaking that later on. But never mind. Hey ho. Yeah, any thoughts on the room about Act 4? Eric?
I just like how Chorus spends like a substantial part of his, like an increasingly substantial part of his monologues going like, I need to go change. Shit. What am I going to do?
It is rather like, parenthesis, hasn't written the next chorus. So he's literally he's just got to go off and write the next bit. He's always sort of, and that's the thing, that might sort of explain why he's saying what he's saying when he says it, because he's basically just writing down what's happening as it's happening. It's more like a match report than a chorus. It sort of feels like, and here we are at the end of the first half of the match. It's not going well for the verbs. It's not going very well for the nouns either, frankly. And there's some scrobbling on the side of the pitch with the irregulars. So it's all gone a bit bad, kind of thing. But better than that, because that was a bit rubbish. But yeah, that sort of idea maybe. But yeah, there's a sort of nice anarchic quality to the elements of this. I'm not sure about Robinson.
Robinson.
Who is Robinson? What's Robinson for? What? I was a bit busy doing something else at the time, so I didn't really pay attention. Who wants to talk about Robinson? I'll go to Alan first.
I'm just wondering whether we're getting back with another one we've seen before in some of these university plays, that they're actually having a go at either a current or recently departed member of the college.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be an in-joke, I suppose. Lois?
That's my feeling.
Yeah. I mean, it's difficult with such a common name. There certainly was somebody named Robinson who translated something. I'm trying to remember whether it was Castiglione or Utopia into English, or I don't know, some well-known text anyway, but I don't know if this is the same one anyhow, so that may not help.
It feels like an in-joke, doesn't it?
It is. I've got a footnote here that it's a mysterious character. See the introduction.
Oh.
So that was helpful. Write better footnotes. Eric.
Yeah, I was gonna say it probably is an in-joke, kind of like the ones that we had in like Club Law, where it's like, yes, we shall make you the sort of master of ceremonies, and it's like, we don't know who the hell this is, but it's someone with a very common name. I was thinking maybe it's like the star student or something, like the one who gets all the sort of, top of the class kind of stuff. But I don't know, maybe it's just me.
Okay, well, let's dive into Act 5. Let's tie it all up in a neat bow and see what comes out the other side. Act 5, Scene 1. Enter Volo, Fero, Dick, Vis, Fumus, and Aquilus with Master Ignorance, so we're possibly going to have some clashes from this point onwards.
Sure, sir, your boys had needed more direction. They cannot answer for us for our defection.
What say you? Can they not? Oh, stirpam in visum. For this their negligence, see how I'll trice 'em. I will untrust them, sursum and deorsum. From high to low, they all shall go to horsum.
Lynn, your Volo.
Ah, Volo line sneaked in there. Nay, be not, sir, so moved as to breach them, For they will learn hereafter as you teach them.
Yea, yea, I would you had been all a mile hence, when as you put my pupils thus to silence. But, sirs, why do you in such doubts involve ye, and urge poor simple scholars to resolve ye? Si essent in ski, had they insight in it, they would have answered quick, you should have seen it. Oh, such a one was I was so ready in Latin speech. In Latin only, said I. I'll tell you what, I am so good a Grecian, I need not come to learn of doting Priscian.
Come, we come not for to hear your preaching. Tell what we came for, or leave off your teaching.
Good sir, in friendly sort, say what ye know. Tell Dick the cause why he is curted so.
Come, Dick will make you tell him. Understand ye, modo imperative, I command ye.
Alcis contenti. Peace and be contented. I'll tell you straight, see how I am tormented with these hard questions. Fie on it, I had liefer be dully followed with a quatrain fever.
Sir Ignorance, I see your brains do travel about their losses for the which they cavil. But as for me, you need not vex you further. My perfect tense was gone. I got another.
Then shortly ye will grow to better rule. Oh.
Yes, for I had the relics of dead Tulo.
What? What? Is Tulo dead? Oh, durum, casum, dolio ex animo, out of mind to raise him. But wherefore am I in the schools a meddler? Sure, I was deceived by that peddler. But I will write myself, or it shall miss hard. Non ego disserto. I'll not be made a dissard.
Come, though. Yeah, come, though Fero bears his borrowed tents. I'll tell thee, sir, I will not go hence until thou find me out my plural number. What, fellow? Dost thou think that I do slumber?
Monstrum horrendum! What your plural lack ye? Methinks you should not more do take tobacco.
Why, so I know it. Find him, or I'll smoke ye.
Bona verbo quaeso. Would your smoke did choke ye? 'Twill choke us first. Would they might never sturmel that thus torment me.
Hark how he doth murmur. We'll vex him worse. You know, sir, what the law is. Why should I want my vocative?
Quid ice?
Why should I want my vocative?
Vi misero. I would hear was sage Solon, or sweet Cicero, or Major Cato, or some major in scarlet, to pacify this rude unruly varlet.
What, he not? Faith will shake up your spirits. Must we not be regarded for our merits? We were all soldiers in these bloody broils. Some hurt and maimed, others getting foiled, thus losing limbs, and having crannies cracked. We come for remedy for our defect.
Faith, sirs, I cannot but condole your chance to seek the remedy of ignorance.
Oh, sir, your pleasant words shall never tame us. Will not be answered with an ignoramus.
Let me a little question him for my case. Where is my dative? Queso magister dicas?
Why, in the wars you were of him bereaven. Yet forte, sir, it may be you may have him.
May me no mays, nor forte me no forte. As I am this, I will have it. I will be short with ye. You will not speak? You long to have a clap? Take that then so. Take up your wisdom's cap.
Nay, though ye mock him, do him yet no wrong. Stay, monsieur, stoop not, I will put him on.
And places a fool's cap on ignorance's head.
Now are you fitted?
Oh, ridiculi! They vex me, mock me, whither shall I fly?
Exit ignorance, Act 5, Scene 2, enter Participle and Vox with a watch.
Now, sure, we met the very man we spoke of. Those outlaws are not far. Their sports new broke off.
Lo, here they are. Lay hold on Vis and Volo, two sturdy varlets. See they escape not so. See they escape not. So, lo, now for the other. Vox, Fumus, he is vanished. I would all such as he were clearly banished now. Take the rest and bind them.
Fero yields.
Here is a coil indeed. All grammar fields do swarm with heteroclites. All places cry out upon their misbehaviour and riot. shall be mended. You must all appear at your king's palace to be judged there.
And they exit Act 5, Scene 3. Enter Priscian with 2 supplications.
Oh, misery! Thus still to be abused, my head still knocked, my plasters daily loosed, fresh enemies still, fresh wounds, fresh buffets given. Alack, I would I never here had liven, or dealt with noun or verb or grammar stuff. They strike as if my head were hammer-proof. It grieves me others should be well, and I sick, but that I hope I shall have better physic. Be comforted, and cheer thyself, old Priscian. Though thou be'st sick, thou ne'er shalt want physician. Oratio is my friend, and many mo. Nay, I may say I have not any foe, none that will hurt me, nec foris, nec domi. But new-come fellows, those that do not know me, for these and such like enormities against me, I will unto the grammar kings complain me, and for that purpose here I keep my station, to offer to them each a supplication. I here expect my time, but early or late, suitors must dance attendance at the gate.
Act 5, Scene 4. Enter Verbum, Oratio, Nomen, Robinson, and Lillie.
Now, learned Lillie, since those stern anomalies have raised fearful tumults and gone from my laws, breaking the civil peace throughout our kingdom, let this be thy charge and to rule to bring 'em. Make statutes such as may restrain them duly. Ill fares the realm where subjects be unruly.
For Heteroclites to Robinson I grant the like commission for their restraint.
Both shall be done. But see, here's Priscian. It seems he comes with some petition.
Welcome, good friends. How does thy scalp of late? Thou ne'er goest without a plastered pate.
Thus it falls out. Some enemies waylay me, such enemies as I know not, nor they me.
Hold thee thy papers, Priscian. Our meeting hath been thought fit for a general sitting. In judgment of some vagabonds, thy writing will serve for evidence in their indicting.
My anomalies are become so rough, they'll plead not guilty, though we have good proof. Say they be stubborn, how shall we constrain them?
Some verbs deponents here do lay against them. I have their depositions ready written, which shall be read anon when you have sitten.
And here are articles for the Heteroclites.
'Tis well, we'll tame those haughty neophytes, and bring them unto rule and due submission, having both article and deposition. But see, here's Participle, or I mistake him, with that unruly crew that he hath taken.
Then let us sit in judgment as beseemeth. Come, fair Oratio, take thy place between us.
Enter Participle Vox with the anomalies and Heteroclites. After all be set, Robinson as clerk with Lillie thus begins.
Crier may an oye.
Oh yay, oh yay, oh yay.
All manner of persons, singular or plural, which owe suit or have been bound over to the court of the two mighty potentates, Nomen and Verbum, make your personal appearance, every one as he's called, upon pain and peril that will fall thereon.
You are not ignorant, united friends to grammar civil orders, to what ends these mighty princes cause our meeting here, deigning themselves in person to appear. For why? Here are presented to our sights lawless anomalies and heteroclites, here to be censured for their outrages, in which their censure will not be remiss, nor on the other side will we be cruel, only defend our rights, so we hope you will.
We will do all in rule, nothing in fury, nor will we stand to impanel any jury. Crier, say after me. All you heteroclites, superant or deficient, aptotes, monoptotes, diptotes, and tructotes, stand forth and hear ye the articles laid against you.
How comes it so few Heteroclites appear? Say, Participle.
They are fled for fear. But yet I hope they shall be ta'en at leisure.
Yea, and we'll make them all attend our pleasure. But where is Fumus?
Sir, he scaped me. He'll still be out of rule, I plainly see.
To proceed with the Heteroclites, here are 3 articles framed against them.
And here we have some dashes in the script marked off, so the articles are not extant in the text.
What say you? Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty, but pray consider you my case.
Nay, such as you merit but little grace.
I guiltless am. I here crave but my due. Aliquis behaves himself most true. If the outlaws, I was not amid them. If any tumult was, 'twas Nemo did them.
Oh, gross untruths! How is this answered here? Uproars are raised, but Aliquis not there.
And so of Nemo he complains untruly, for of all Heteroclites he's the most ruly. That he begat these stirs, I'll not believe. He's not in case, he wants the genitive. Nay, we may rather make him grammar's darling in favouring him, as he doth favour learning. The good we had of late he did procure all. He is our only friend, admits no plural. What should I speak more of his condemnation? He only mongst the others lives in fashion, keeps the old fashion, new comes still detesting, and labours still in goodness, never resting, for which I do conclude that Nemo's he that Felix ante obitem shall be.
Come, Priscian, we do now accept thy writing. Thou art misused. We'll labour for thy writing. Read these, his supplications, Lillie.
Lillie says something that we do not have.
What thou requests here is naught but reason. Those men will banish, and their wares we'll seize on.
Lillie says something else we also do not have.
Thanks, gentle Priscian, and in quiet rest thee. We'll punish those offenders that molest thee.
Prior, call the rest. Anomalies come forth, and hear your judgment. Here are indictments, with some depositions, all which in tenor do agree with Priscian. Guilty or not guilty?
The matters are all palpable and clear, as by the former writings do appear. Now, Lillie, do thou execution on them of this my judgment, which I pass upon them. First, they be shut, lest they go at random, within the grammar prison called notandum. Then let them there remain forever maimed, nor get whate'er they lost or boldly claimed. They have deserved worse. We are not strict.
I'll do according to your grave edict.
So for those Heteroclites, my mind is this, that they be prisoned for their amiss, first in regards so proudly they disdain us, commit them to the dungeon called Quae Gamus. There let them lodge, hang chains and shackles on them, until that things with 6 feet creep upon them. I mean that hexameters shall be their guard.
Parse, good king, let our complaint be heard.
Our judgment's passed, and may not be withstood. You will be naught, though we be ne'er so good. Therefore I say in vain, you cry out parse. Away with them, our lord affords no mercy.
Thus is the grammar government in peace. Thus dangers on grave Priscian's head will cease. Thus noun and verb in quiet rest remaining, perfects Oratio, both together reigning. Thus, as we hope, and as we ever meant, procure we peace to us, and all content.
They exit, leaving us with the epilogue. Chorus, you've had the whole of Act 5 to write it.
The sentence being passed, nothing remains but execution. Stay, here ends our pains. For our authority it is so slender that judge we may, but punish no offender. Then would we have ye know that this our story is true, but covered with an allegory. Since for when we took in hand this toy, we meant by the defective freshmen to present, which daily like irregulars rebel against us seniors. Praisers, mark me well. Absurd and ignorance epitomize their huge, great volume of ill properties, which be so true a pattern of that stem, that they belong to none but fools in them. The noun and verb Oratio with the rest, I doubt you not interpret for the best. Priscian may represent our misery, which daily are abused as you see. But to conclude, we promise to please your eyes with wars, which we in quiet peace have now performed. If it have offended, lend us your hands, and it shall soon be mended.
And with the sound of a retreating duck, we close the session. All is well. It's interesting we have these little gaps there for bits of formal evidence. And that might be a thing that the text was written on the props. And those props are lost. So that's why we don't have those bits. I'm not sure they were going to be the most exciting bits of dialogue anyway, because they're sort of formal submissions to a court. So they're inferable. We could invent something to fit in there. So yeah, we have finished in good order and good time. We have had ignorance has had a fool's cap put on, and generally everybody's sort of been put in their place. And all is right in the world in Grammarland. Grammarland is once again a happy land of happy grammar. Where no one splits infinitives. Who knows? I feel that actually there's a lot more bad jokes that one could actually put into this text as well as take out. I feel that this is an interesting dancing ground to sort of play around with. I think there's a good structure here. There's some really nice bits in it. There's a bit too much of stuff that we probably don't get. But I think with a nice fillet, you could do a nice 45-minute show out of this. That would actually be quite fun and educational too. I feel I've learned something. Did everyone else learn something? I don't know. Thoughts in the room about that ending, and we'll sort of drift into final thoughts as we go along. But yeah, general thoughts, Aliki.
Well, I guess it depends on how Latin you're going to be about it. If you're going to perform it to a very specialized audience of people who actually get Latin grammar jokes, you could probably leave it more or less uncut. If we're going to translate it into English grammar, we'd have to add a lot more of our jokes and take out a lot of theirs. But a lot of the parts of speech still work, so that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, we still have regular. I'll go to Eric and then Elizabeth.
No, I just felt bad for like the freshmen who are basically like represented as defectives and irregular sort of verbs that are basically punished for being themselves and being fresh, like new to the school, which feels a bit bad. I mean, it's kind of that. It reminded me of like not horror stories, but like stories that I've heard about like boarding schools where you've got like the seniors like making the younger kids like I don't know, make toast or whatever, or when they burn their toast to get like beating them up and that kind of thing. I don't know if any of it is true, but yeah.
Yes, the horror stories of toast that I've heard. I've heard far worse stories than that. But yeah, I mean, that sort of sense of generational thing of going, oh God, the young people are turning up and they don't know all the stuff we know, and they're so annoying for not knowing the things. Elizabeth and St. Lois. How's Elizabeth? Are you still there, Elizabeth?
Oh, no, she's frozen. Bummer.
Looks like frozen. We'll come back to Elizabeth. Lois.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it seems like a very traditional kind of college humor. I went to a college where we did this kind of thing. I mean, there was a tradition of students in the third year putting on a show, and there was a tradition of people gathering to sing, and there was a song that could be sung only by the seniors, no, in fact, only by the juniors, which described each of the other classes as being defective in some way, and then went on, and we are the juniors, the best of the lot. There isn't a damn thing that we haven't got. The male population falls down at our feet. We all got cum laude, say boys ain't we neat. I mean, it's the same general idea.
Yes, Elizabeth. Yes.
Yeah, I just was thinking about how many of the jokes, the grammar jokes, came to life while we were reading them. You know, because I thought, oh my gosh, this would be so difficult to pick up on if I was just listening to it. But when I was reading the text, I thought, oh, okay, yeah, decline, the declensions, oh, that's funny, and then sort of the different spelling of the words, some of the jokes about the spellings of words as well. I just thought it was one of those texts that comes alive when you read it more than when you listen to it.
I think there is definitely the potential there that we use projection and throwing some text around as part of a version of the show as well. That might be an option there, because you're right, there are some very clever on the page gags. And then again, you've got some very unsubtle, unclever gags. About people getting their bum shot off. I mean, it contains a seed of a clever joke, but it's also just about bums, which always goes down well, as it were. Other thoughts, Lynn?
This little skit makes me wish I were about 10 times as clever as I am, to write something up, so I could write something like this about grammar, because we still, grammar still matters and usage still matters, and kind of having this fun way of teasing students about their writing habits, I think would just be really, really fun and maybe good pedagogy. I mean, I don't know if this is a problem with students in the UK, but when my kids are trying to sound smart, they turn verbs into nouns. So, and they would say something like, and due to, they love due to, or due to the fact. So, due to my moving to a different town, my working on the school newspaper was ended. Instead of, because we moved, I had to give up working on the school newspaper. It's like, why don't you just use verbs? Just use verbs. It's okay. Like, why due to the fact? What's wrong with because? So, I mean, I would really love to be able to generate something like this where you make fun of pretentious usage and talk about nouns and verbs, because I think grammar jokes are hilarious, because I'm a giant nerd. But yeah, I don't know if you could make this work in the US at all. We really don't teach grammar here, so perfect and declension and tense and stuff, very few people have access to that vocabulary even. So unfortunately, because I think it's hilarious.
But don't worry, I promise you, we will read all of William Lillie's short introduction of grammar. I've set aside a block of 20 weeks to read the complete text, and because I feel we'll enjoy it. We'll get into it. We will. I'm not doing that. It's okay. Relax. But I mean, if for example, say we keep with the sort of the Latin grammar side of things, and we trimmed it down to say 45, 50 minutes, maybe an hour, but then paired it with something where we actually did a sort of serious first half. We sort of go through in a relatively engaging way some of the basics to explain that set up the jokes. Then that would be an interesting show. I mean, I'm not saying that would be a runaway hit that we'd do more than once, but it would be an interesting exercise, and I think would be quite nice. But I think there is a seed here to actually take this and use this as a base text to create something that may be more pertinent to people today, because I think the basic idea is great. I love the idea that nouns and verbs are at war. I mean, that still functions in English as a basic concept, and it goes quite Carol Churchill at one point. Sort of just sitting there going, "Oh, you thought you were original." Eric.
I kind of want to, like, if I was going to pick a play to pair this with, I would pick like the whole wine, beer, and ale one, just because you've got like the reference to tobacco as well. You've got lots of stuff, and just because that's such a silly play as well, and it's fun. Yeah, I don't know. But I think this is quite interesting because it's also like, I mean, okay, we haven't done the whole sort of. We didn't take it like line by line and like worry about everything that is like missing, but it feels like a very quick play. Like you could do, even if you add physical business, it's very sort of quick fire. You wouldn't really get everything, but yeah.
I mean, yeah, you get there's a war on, you get there are these people who are injured in the war and they're fighting, and then they get pulled together. I mean, the basic plot is incredibly simple. There's some fiddly bits in it, but actually the plot overall is not complicated. And in a sense, it has to not be complicated because it's doing lots of complicated things in the dialogue, and so you sort of pay off one with the other. Very simple plot and subplots. That I mean, the peddler doesn't go anywhere, but he's a fun character, and that's fine. And does some stuff. Okay, final thoughts around the room. I think we've probably got a general shape of things, but that is you know how it goes. But you know, additional thoughts, alternative thoughts. If you have no thoughts, then you can just move on. Sarah, do you have any final thoughts?
I have a great deal of final thoughts, really. I enjoyed it. It's the hilarious and slightly heartbreaking thing is that this would work really well over here in Germany, because like you have no choice if you're going to understand German but to engage with the grammar. And so yeah, like if this could somehow be translated into German and or sort of made about German grammar, I mean, yeah, lots of people would find it genuinely hilarious. There is a lot to find hilarious about German grammar, but in the UK, and I don't know about America, I'm going to just take Lynn's word for it, but in the UK, I think you would have to, I mean, I liked Eric's idea, actually. I think you could do a whole day or evenings worth of like university, you know, fun plays. And I think if you marketed it in that way and did maybe 3 back to back, or as, you know, over the course of a day, you'd get an audience for it, because you'd get, you know, if you marketed them as university plays, you'd maybe only have a small audience, but you'd have an audience who would like be there for that reason and would appreciate it. And even if they didn't get all the jokes, they'd just enjoy getting off on the fact that they were so clever that they turned up to see this whole day of you know, witty university plays. If you were going to try and extend it to a wider audience, you would have to pair it with some sort of explainer beforehand. And I'm wondering if you could do it partially visually. I mean, it because it was so like the rhymes were so hilarious, and you know, there were lots of jokes in there, some of which I got, many which went over my head, but I was kind of aware that they were there because you could just, like, the text was flagging them up even if I wasn't sure what they were. We didn't really think about, you know, how we would stage this visually, but I think you could actually do quite a lot with the physical action and the physical signifiers to make it even funnier for people who aren't going to necessarily get the jokes, the grammar jokes. You know, you could do things with costume and kind of weird, oversized shapes, abstract shapes, and maybe even text and fonts and all kinds of crazy stuff. You could maybe create a show that was visually as entertaining as the words are, and then I think you'd maybe be onto something. And you could tie that in with an explainer where you maybe get all the characters on stage one by one and introduce them and say what they are and what, you know, what they should be doing, and then what they're actually not doing, and then what, you know, what when they're being naughty, they could actually be behaving in a naughty way on stage or whatever, and it would just reinforce some of it and hopefully make it a bit more accessible.
Yes, and it could be because there is a war on, so there's an awful lot of inferred action. You can add some into that, and the way the various people come on. Yeah, there's lots of potential there. Alan, any final thoughts?
I must admit, I enjoyed it far more listening to it and participating in it than when I was looking at it on the page, because the rhyming, which really reminds me of W.S. Gilbert, got to me because it is very, very cleverly done. And the fact that it gives you really a base of rhythm to the whole thing. It's almost half sung, isn't it, in places? It's got the feel of the sort of the Gilbert Patler songs in some places, and taken at that pace.
Elizabeth, you missed the opening, so you missed the declaration of war and some of the opening action. But any final thoughts?
Yeah, it just took me back. I used to teach grammar to students who had done no grammar at A-level English, and that was always a challenge because I love grammar. I think it's a hoot, but the students always had a different opinion. I really enjoyed it. I was thought back to Aliki's play that I saw last year, 666 Comments. And I just thought that would be, the way that is staged would just be an amazing way to stage this, because they had a projector on stage and they had all these comments like moving across the screen. And then they had like loads of words written on pieces of paper as well. And I thought you could really bring this to life. And I was thinking about like these personification plays, which we've done, like a game at chess and a Christmas mess. And I thought they could really work together, these plays where things or ideas become people. I just like that. I just thought that's like, it really tickles me. And I thought a lot of the jokes in this were very tongue-in-cheek as well. And I think that's a feature of all these kind of personification plays, that the jokes are kind of like, like, oh, you get it, don't you? Because you understand the joke between you and the author, and you and the cast. And I like that a lot. So I enjoyed it, and I'm really sad I missed the beginning.
Eric, any final thoughts?
I just want to see like how much of like what they studied with, just because the peddler analogy made me think of like the peddler's prophecy, which is just irrelevant, but also kind of like he doesn't have any random magical stones in his pack. He just has like verbs and nouns and that kind of thing. I don't know, it just feels suspicious, very suspicious. Yeah, I don't know. I like this play, even if like I don't know anything about Latin at all. Yeah, it's fun.
Lynn, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, as I was saying, I mean, I enjoyed the 10% that didn't go over my head, because I just think grammar jokes are hilarious. The other thing that it's striking about this, and I'm glad that Elizabeth mentioned Christmas Mess, because that was a university play too, as well. So it plays about grammar, plays about food, the recurring convention of making abstracts into people. The universities kind of had their own like theater tradition, maybe not completely independent of, but somewhat independent of the popular theaters or the court theater. And that to me is just sort of intriguing. I mean, I don't know really what to make of that, but it kind of suggests to me that you get a bunch of people together, whether it's in a city or a college, and they want to do theater. They want to do performance. It's just something people want to do. That it just, like, as much as you try to criticize it and tamp it down, it's just like people want to be actors, and they want to get up in front of their families and their friends and their colleagues and do skits. It's something people love to do. And it might not really work outside the little world that it gets generated in, but the fact that we have so much stuff left from the university performance tradition kind of suggests to me that like performance is something people just that's what we want to do. We just we like doing it.
Yes. And, this does come from the same manuscript as Christmas Mess and Boot and Spur and some others as well. So, this is all being written down by the same people. Even if we're not quite sure what the auspices of this particular text is or this particular show, we don't have the same kind of record as to precisely who or why and precisely how it's being produced, except that it's got that university association. I don't even know which university it is. Leaky, any final thoughts?
I'm just going to combine several things that we've heard, and I think we should go for a really cartoonish kind of musical with exaggerated characters and slapstick action, and it would be great fun. For me, it's more Ira Gershwin than Gilbert, but whatever.
And Alex, any final thoughts?
Yes, to me it was more sort of Cole Porter Juvenilia than than any of those, but in a good way. It's interesting, it reminded me of several things. It reminded me of Letterland, which was a thing that was at school when I was taught in this country, where the letters had characters and faces drawn on them, and there were stories as to why some letters became silent because one letter affected another one. And Benjamin Bunny, who was B, became Poor Peter when he was a P, and he was softer because his ears were pointed down. So it's obviously a thing that is still current in education. I love that it's full of puns. I'm a great advocate of puns, and I'm sad that we're not fond of them these days. It reminded me there were elements in it that reminded me of Lewis Carroll. There's a brilliant chapter in Frank Baum's book, The Emerald City of Oz, in Utensia, which is the village of kitchen utensils, where every line is a pun about, the spoons find action stirring, but they're all getting rusty, and they make cutting remarks if they're an axe. And it's kind of like that. And I wonder whether in terms of who the audience would be for, I don't know whether you would have to sort of set your stall out and pitch it at public schools where people are still taught Latin. And to sort of pick up on what other people have suggested, start with quite a dry lecture that then maybe goes haywire by these irregular characters popping out of it. And maybe, I don't know whether it would structurally damage it too much, focus on either the irregular verbs or the irregular nouns as your kind of characters on stage, rather than both of them. Irregular verbs are kind of more striking to me than the nouns, because we don't really have that many of them in English. And I wondered also what you do about the grammarians were obviously sort of, celebrity names, what you would do to kind of distinguish between those different characters, whether you'd have someone as Noah Webster and someone as Susie Dent or David Crystal, or kind of, because they were the nearest figures I could sort of, or Giles Brandreth, they were the nearest figures I could sort of link to that these days you would go, oh, that's an intelligent person who talks about language and stuff. Yeah.
Okay, well, we have come to the end of our time with Heteroclitanomalonomia, and it needs a better title. If nothing else, that's gonna sell seats. That one. Sort of rolling in the R's. But all that remains, thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. Send them to the Uniacity.